One's watching right now anyway.
It's hurtful.
Make sure it's live. Looks watching right now anyway. Alright. It is live. So Nick, you're still with us, right?
Yes, I am.
Alright. Post really quick. And we are... Let's get a link to this thing. List reviews. Let me turn off my AC unit over here. Hold on.
Who's the jerk taking go track?
Somebody to go track. Oh, it was
yeah, it's a little kid.
Yeah, the kid. Like somebody's son is bringing like Fire Slayers with go track,
and he's awesome. So, all right. So let's start this up. Does anyone have any just opening comments at all about just the tournament in general?
We're narrative players.
We're so narrative.
No, we're not.
We're many
narrative players.
So many non-competitive lists here.
I'm really excited about the number of people that we got. 23 with the one late drop, but
yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll fill it back up too.
Somebody had to go fix roofs or something.
I mean, that's how he makes money. Hey, right now, dude, he's gonna make bank. So no doubt, I'd do it too.
And it was also how fast it filled up. Like the tournament filled up really fast.
Yes, it was good to see. I know a lot of that was on part of Mr. James Matthews getting a lot of his folks in. Let me see if I can bring up the chat real quick. Make sure that no one's asking us questions. Okay, good, because no one's here. Sweet, I love it. It's the best. People are just gonna watch it later. That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
we got 2 people watching now. So hey, we got some people.
It's awesome. Just you.
Yeah, I was in the chat to see if it was on, so that might be me.
Well, now it's not you. Now we have 1. Hey, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter when they watch it, as long as they watch it. The point is that we give them some good ideas around their lists. So let's start off a little bit with just a little bit about the tournament. This is a tournament that is specifically meant for new people getting into the hobby. The idea is that we have 12 new players versus 12 experienced players. The experienced players have a little different of a scorecard in comparison to a normal tournament. This scorecard is essentially a way for us to keep the competitiveness a little lower so that we can actually bring in a little bit more education and camaraderie to the tournament. So we essentially have this extra bit of rules that allows for the new players to kind of vote and tell us how their experienced opponents did as far as their mentorship. So the idea is that these experienced players actually go in, they mentor these players while they play. Now they can still beat the pants off them. That's still a part of the tournament. It's still a tournament, but we want it to be in a way that teaches and doesn't make people feel bad. It is a way to encourage people and encourage new players to not only just play better, but also just encourage them to just play more, to build up their armies, to enjoy the entire hobby and just have fun. So let's start off with a little bit of list stats you guys can see on my left here. We're going to start off with just, and it's a little bit skewed because we did have a drop, so these aren't precise numbers, but it is very, very close. And as you guys can see, a quarter of the tournament is still centered around Soul Blight, which I love to see because I think from the past, I don't know, a few tournaments, the only Soul Blight player has always been James. I'm trying to think of anyone else that's played in a tournament as Soul Blight, at least locally, recently.
Nate would.
That's true, Nate. He brought Fire Slayers a lot too, though. So,
Yeah,
and I
he
know
was
that,
popular.
and I'm pretty sure Carter, you brought him once or twice, right?
Yeah, they're fun. It's just they weren't the most competitive thing, but
But now they're looking a little gross.
a little bit better.
Awesome. So yeah, we have Soul Blight that takes up 25% of the overall army factions, with Virkos in the lead. Virkos having 3 different players playing as them, Castellai with 2, and Legion of Blood with 1. Then we have our Blades of Corn. We used to have 3 different ones on here, but now I believe we're down to just Reapers of Vengeance and Bloodlords as the 2 players playing Blades of Corn. I do love it because these are new battle tomes, so getting to see these kind of out the gates, just gonna be fun. Then we have actually 2 players that are playing Sylvaneth, so that's also really, really cool to see. You don't really get to see a whole lot of Sylvaneth in our local tourneys. We've seen them whenever we go out and about to Kansas, Missouri, Texas, things like that. But it's usually an Alarial with something else, and it's going to be fun to see something a little bit different. Of course, we're playing 1,000 points, so it'd be kind of weird to play Alarial, but it's still really cool to see. Then we got the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Sons of Behemoth, Orc War Clans, Slaves to Darkness, Gloomspite Gits, Flesh Eater Courts, Ogre Maw Tribes, Stormcast, Ideneth, Hosts of Slanesh, Caradhran Overlords, and Fire Slayers. So pretty much, we have a nice array of players, and that's going to make it be a really fun tournament. I'm super excited about it. But yeah, 6 players playing Soul Blight, so that does bring in some interesting talk there.
Lack
we have
of
Skaven.
Lumineth makes me happy.
Oh, the lack of Lumineth does make me happy. That always
What are
makes
the
me
armies
happy.
that we're not bringing? There's nothing here before.
Lumineth definitely is not there. I did forget to mention Skaven, because I had it on the second page here. But let's see here. What are we not bringing? There's no cities. That's very interesting to see. There's 0 cities players for this
There's a lot
1,000
of city
points.
players in our meta.
What else are we missing here?
There's no Night Haunt.
Yeah. And
Another big one is no Seraphon.
where's the Flesh Eater Court? Oh, there it is. Yeah, we have Flesh Eater Courts. You say no Seraphon? Yeah, because Jose isn't going to make it to this one, so we have no Seraphon. So yeah, the
There's a few
average.
people who play Seraphon, so
Yeah, I sold all mine. Like normal. All right, so the average drops I think is really interesting also because we have more than half of the players are 1 drop, which, I mean, in a 1,000-point game, it's pretty easy to do. But it's still fun to see that we do still have an array of different drops, but definitely people are swinging hard for the low drop this tournament. And among the new players, 66% are 1 drop. So we'll see how that plays out for them, see if that leads to any teaching moments. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Overall wounds, average, about 70 wounds per army. That feels pretty good. And we made some other stats that we ended up not doing, which is fine. Awesome. Well, let's get to our first lists. Any other comments really quick just about the tournament or about lists in general?
I would say that average wounds, that's kind of not accurate because there's so much summoning in some of the armies that are going to be... All the Vikros can add a block of 20 wounds of wolves. True. So as a heroic action. So
True.
70.2 is actually probably a little lower than it really is.
Yeah, you're going to be adding about 25 wounds straight up before the game even starts.
True.
I think it's also nice to see all the different sub factions. Like even in Khorne, there's 3 different sub factions. There's 3 different across Soul Blight. So I mean, it'll be nice to see different styles of play, hopefully with the different sub factions. Like it isn't all 6 of the Soul Blight going one dynasty, and you're just sort of just like, okay, like it'll be nice to see what people can do with some of the different ones.
Definitely. Hey, some of the guys in our chat, Derek, and I believe that is John. How are we sounding? Is everything coming through okay? Is the video looking all right? We also have some questions from these guys that I'd like to try to place in here a little bit. 'Cause I don't want to take a ton of time tonight just going through all this. I don't want to feel long-winded or anything like that. But some of the questions we have: do we have a DFL for the mentor scoring category? Not specifically for mentor, I don't believe. Do we even have a DFL? I can't remember if I put that in the list or not.
Was that Derek asking?
Yes, and I believe we do, Derek. We do. I'm pretty positive we have a DFL, but we called it the most generous or something like that. Because they just gave, with the love from their hearts, they just gave us some wins. So yeah, there will be a DFL prize. I do think we will have some nice prizes. I'm still waiting on to hear back from Mike about exactly what the discounts, what he's going to be throwing in. But I know myself, Nick, and maybe some others are going to be throwing in some extra prizes on top. So it's going to be a pretty good little prize pool for a little 1,000-point tournament. So we're
Isn't
super
the
stoked about it.
store also a certain percent off that weekend or something
Yes,
like that?
and I don't know what the percent is yet, but we will have a percentage off on all AOS, maybe even all 40K. As far it might just be all GW in general. We'll see. A little quiet. You're saying that Nick is a little quiet, or is Joseph a little bit quiet? It might be Joe. Let me turn up Joe a little bit here. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Would one more decide to play? Who's our money on? I think that we're going to possibly say a little bit of that as we go. If I were to put my money on anything, it's gonna be going with something like Soul Blight. Seeing that there's 25% of the tournament is Soul Blights.
Such a brave choice.
No, I do have a specific army and really, really does well. Then I think that he will shine in this tourney. Truthfully, there's a couple, but
I'm gonna go out and say it. I think Juan Martinez is gonna win the tournament.
don't steal my, especially with this new book. So we'll see. I might have to kneecap him at some point. Just walk over to his table and just hit his knee with a bat or something. Anybody else have any thing that they or any army that they have money on? OBR, Jose. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Here's the deal. Who's playing OBR? I think it's Charles. He is a new player, so that's fine. He can definitely totally win this thing. I think it's really going to come down to his movement and his positioning, because most OBR players, whenever they're playing, they have a tendency to just move up the middle and sit. So we'll see how he does. Hopefully he gets some great mentors that can coach him along the path too. Looks like we're having some buffering issues. Sweet.
Yeah, your internet's breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I might have to plug in here. Plug straight in. I'm going to do that really quick. Whoop.
Well, while we're waiting, I'll say for the new people, there's going to be dice trays and 3-inch measuring sticks and little tabs to dry erase write your buffs and things on. So if you're worried about anything like that, we've got you covered. Those will all be provided for you.
Free stuff at the free tournament? When?
we've got to be welcoming and get these people to come back so we can really beat them later.
Yeah. That's my job. Um, But I do think
directly in here.
a huge focus will be on just getting people to enjoy the game and like try not to sweat too hard.
Yeah, take backs will happen.
Yeah. This isn't a ideally we built it and we stressed enough this isn't a like come and just beat up a bunch of people and then declare yourself it's the new age of your name. Hopefully that it's more of a let's teach people how to play and get them comfortable, and they're gonna make mistakes, and doesn't mean you can't capitalize on them, but you should like point things out, talk things through, hoping that it's more relaxed and laid back is the hope.
That's some very wise advice and hope and all that. Like, you spoke like a true Great Plains master with all of that.
Watch out, Nick. Someone's gonna knock you off soon.
All right, are we still buffering, guys? How's is it a little bit better? I know my camera went off.
You're gone.
But I'm still here. And you guys can still see stuff.
Your video or your sound's good to me.
Cool.
You're not making a robot sounds anymore.
Robot sounds. All right, I'm trying to get my camera back up. While I'm doing that, we can keep going though. So let's take this first list. I still have it up on my screen. It is Andy Cull with the Sons of Behemoth. I know we have a Behemoth player here with us tonight. You want to take that one, Nick?
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I really, really like this list. And this one is high. It might just be my bias towards Suns, but I really think this one's going to do well. Stomper Tribe is grand strategy, make the land tremble. I've got some concerns about it, but I can get into that later. Basically, what he's got to do is make a unit run or charge each turn of the game. And he's got 4 units to do it with. It doesn't have to be the same unit. So, Inspired Triumph for a +1 to wound. At 900 points, he's probably going to get that in every match. So, that War Stomper, when it comes in, it's going to be gross. If you're running War Stompers, the number of attacks that they get are based on the number of units around them with their big club, up to 10 max. So you're looking at 3s or 2s, and if he pops the Inspired, 2s and 2s in attacks doing 2 damage each into, like, it's a pretty gross. And then just jump up and down and all that they do. Rabble Rouser gives it an 18-inch bubble of +1 to charge for everybody. And the Glowy Shield of Protectingness, what it's going to do is, if you have a rend of 1, it ignores it. And then if he rolls a 6-up save, it reflects a mortal wound back on the person that attacked. So
does that ignore rend of 1, or does it just, if they have like 2 rend, does it just ignore?
It just ignores rend 1. It doesn't lower rend by 1. Just rend 1. But there's so much of it out there that's going to do work. The 3 babies, it doesn't sound like much, but till you start getting into all the Stomper Tribe and things that it can do for the babies, there were each individual. He's running them individually instead of like as a mob. But the Man Crusher for 1 command point can give all the Man Crushers the same command for 1 CP. And that's, I mean, giving all of them all out attack would be really nice. But they've also got special Stomper Tribe ones where it's called Getting Stuck In. He can add, if it's got 20 or less units, or less than 20 models in a unit, you get +1 damage, and if it's got 20 or more, +2 damage to all their attacks. It doesn't matter if it's they're throwing rocks, if it's their headbutts, their clubs, just a straight +2 damage, and he can give that to all of them for 1 command point.
That's sick.
It's nice. And then
And at a humble 900 points.
yeah, and what's really going to surprise people is this is a shooting army. I mean, those man crushers can throw, or the man crushers can throw rocks, and they've got a command in Stomper Tribe to add +1 to the attacks. So each one of those are going to be throwing 2 rocks that do 1d3. It's a nice little list, man.
According to
also,
Kyle, they stomp real hard. Kyle Harris.
They do, and if he's within 15 inches of the mega, they can run and charge, and they do impact mortals, and they stick stuff in their bag to auto kill one. Like, it's a nasty little list.
I agree.
And you going after 2,000, you can run 11 man crushers in one guy and just throw rocks for days. But yeah, I really like this list. I think it's going to have issues if it runs into armies that have lots of units, because you can just tie stuff up, and it'd be real easy to deny the grand strategy of the runner charge if you can, like in turn 2 or turn 3, lock everything up in combat. If you can survive, a turn of combat with those guys, and so they can't run or charge, it's a real easy 3 points to make just by denying that grand strategy. So what you're kind of forced to do is to take that last man crusher and just leave him way in the back and just run in place the whole match, basically, just to guarantee that 3 points. If that's worth it or not, I don't know, but that's the only way to really guarantee it. And all Suns players will tell you it's battle tactics are going to be tough. Half of them in the GHB you can't possibly do. So there's one in the book. There's one in the book to kill a hero with rocks. So that one might be something to watch out for.
That'd be sick. So, also, thanks, Zach. We appreciate you joining the live stream. If you guys have any questions, chat, definitely enter it into the chat, and we can definitely answer that as soon as possible. What were you about to say, Carter?
What would you say is like a weakness for this list? Like, he's going to have his War Stomper sitting on an objective. Would you say just to, as an opposing army, ignore the War Stomper, or just like abandon that point completely?
Yeah, because I mean, realistically, he's going to want to keep the man crushers in the 18-inch bubble for that War Stomper, and if you can get him to have to spread out, I mean, he can only be in so many places at a time. If you can just sit on objectives and hold more than him, because he can't be in many spots, because there's going to be some armies that just don't have the ability to lift those many wounds or survive a round of combat with that. So, and one more thing, be careful of is the man crushers. Stuff them in the bag where they pick one model and it just dies. The Gargant player picks the model, so you got to watch out for your coherencies. I mean, they can pick out unit champs, flag bearers, all of that. So
nice. That's beautiful. I love Suns lists. They're just so basic, but but there actually is a lot behind what they can do. And I mean, it's definitely going to kind of come down to the pilot on this one. I mean, you can be the usual, new player where you just run to the center and just try to hold stuff for as long as you can, or you can be very strategic with these 4 models and trying to get as many points as possible, doing the different battle tactics. So I definitely love that. Any other comments?
I think a lot of people expect Suns to be very aggressive.
Yeah.
And rush up there and try and smash stuff. This list doesn't have to. He can sit back and just throw rocks at you. He gives you a reason to come to him, and you don't want to go to him because he's going to smash you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a really good list.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I'm super stoked to see it on the board. Derek, I'm not sure you want to. So Derek asks, can you point out who's a vet and who's a new player? And yes, we will. But I'm wondering what your reasons are, because you just really shooting for aiming down people, or what's your thoughts there? This is a new player. He is coming over from 40K, I believe, and does have some miniature warfare, experience. So while he's a new AOS player, he's not new to the miniature theme. So yes, that is Andy. Any other thoughts, comments on the Suns list?
I think the big thing he has to watch out for, though, is getting spread out, because that's how I would sort of take care of this list. Is I would also hopefully have things on my list that means you can't stand back there and throw rocks. Like, you're going to have to come and engage me. Like, I hope I can win that battle of range. And then it would be spread out with your low model count, spread you out, take apart your pieces as one by one as I can. Like, I'd either deal with that War Stomper first if I can just jump on top of it with everything and take it out, or I would sort of play on the side that it's not on and then deal with Man Crushers as I need to. And then, at that point, with just one War Stomper, you're not going to win an objective. So I think that's something that he has to watch out for, is getting spread out too much.
Yeah. And
sorry, I forgot I had a soundboard on here. This is gonna be amazing, guys.
battle is very easy against them because there's only so many that they can do. Like turn one, I don't want to give too much information so people just have an easier time with this, but I've said it in chat before. Turn one for Gargants, they basically have the only options that they have turn one are desecrate their lands, which is the easy one, and you can deploy to prevent that if you have enough bodies, or gaining momentum if they can reach you. That's pretty much it. They might be able to kill something with rocks, but without sharpshooters, they're probably not killing a hero with rocks. Turn one. So deployment, you can easily get a 2-point lead, well, a 4-point if they don't score the 2 and you get your 2. 4-point lead just by deploying right. And that's something he's got to watch out for. Is the battle tactics are just so hard to get.
Yeah.
They are not in a good spot right now as an army, but you got to play your heart out.
It's funny. I mean, we say that. We did just go to a tournament, all four of us, where a person just went, I believe he went 5-0, or he might have gone 4-1 with the Suns. His name is Walker in Missouri. So, I mean, they're not in a great spot as far as battle tactics and things like that go, which, plays better for some armies. But they're definitely not necessarily in a bad spot as an overall army.
It's very matchup dependent. Like, I played Takeless in that, and I got destroyed just because he could turn off half my army every turn, and then I didn't have any wards on anything, so it was just mortal wounds all day. No good.
Definitely. All right, I'm going to skip to the next one. Next, we have Billy Elliott. He is an experienced player. I will say the way to beat Billy, just buy him DNR from the very beginning of the day, and you'll be golden. He's playing the Cruel Boys, doing specifically the Grinning Blades. And I have a Cruel Boys army. Nick, I know you have a Cruel Boys army. So if you want to start speaking into this one too, I think these first two are definitely geared towards you specifically, Nick.
98 wounds.
Yeah, 98 wounds. He's going to be the top tier wound person in this weekend. Not this weekend.
Some of the notable things is just Grinning Blades. Like, they can't be seen unless you're within 12 inches for shooting, and a lot of magic that's included. So they've got two. I kind of mentioned it in the chat earlier. Getting a 20 block of Gut Rippers in your face. You can start with 2 dirty tricks, and I'm not going to go through all the different ones, but if I were running this army, there's one that gives you a -1 to wound in the first round, and The other one lets you pick 1d3 units, and you can put them in of the other guy's army and put them in reserves, and they can come off the board during the end of his movement phase. So you can pull screens, you can pull buff pieces, and put them in reserve. And now his general has Super Sneaky, which lets him take a unit and move it after deployment 9 inches away. And that's after he's pulled, possibly, depending on what dirty tricks he picks, possibly pulled units out of the way. So he's got that 20 block, which is 40 wounds, and their shield gives them a -1 to hit. He can possibly give them a -1 to wound with a dirty trick. And then the killer boss itself can move in with the Fasten, can move in the hero phase and then move again. And so he's going to be right behind him. You try and shoot. If you're within the 12, he can pop the Mork's Ice Pebble. And he's got a 5-up ward against shooting. And he's in your face with just nastiness. And to add all of that, out there in the mist that you can't see, there's guys shooting poison arrows at you.
Yeah. Now the Swamp Collas can do a spell and they can put the poison on, so that's been a nice little addition to the Cruel Boys. I mean, I do like that they're sitting down with 40 wounds probably in the center of the board while they try to do some stuff, maybe with these 10 Gut Rippas, 10 Hobgrots, and then a Killaboss. That Killaboss can be nasty, but it feels like every single time I ever ran him, he just whiffed every time. He doesn't have a lot of attacks, but they are strong attacks if they do hit.
Yeah, they're good. They're quality attacks for sure. But yeah, his quantity is not enough. And he is a 3-up save, which is nice. I mean, the Cruel Boys don't really have anything that has decent saves. So, and at 130 points for 10 wounds, and he's fast.
Mm-hmm.
So. And he also prevents Gut Rippas if they fail Battle Shock. Only one runs away.
Oh yeah.
So that's a nice little addition. He's to that sitting behind that big old block in your face.
That is nice. And Chad, if you guys have any questions specifically, towards these lists too, definitely hit us up on the chat. As far as Derek, you did ask a question about who's who as far as vets and new players, because he was questioning how the pairings are going to go. It's going to be a little complicated in the pairings. I'm going to be doing manual pairings, so that's going to be fun. But we are doing manual pairings because we are trying to have every single game be a vet versus a new player. Literally just so we can make the scoring mechanic even, balanced, it works out, and the whole point of the tournament is that you are going to be mentored by a experienced player. So, and if they suck at mentoring, please tell us, and then we can just kick them out. It's cool.
Yeah, I keep talking about moving that 20 unit of Gut Rippers up front, but that's not. I mean, he can pick the unit.
Yeah.
That he moves with that. The only reason I say he moving the Gut Rippers is because he's picked Defense with ours for the grand strategy to stop people from being in your deployment and his deployment. So he's going to want to keep the action up in your deployment zone and pin you back as far as possible and keep you back there. And that's, if looking at the list, that's how I would do it.
That makes sense.
At a 1-drop, it'll get on you quick.
It is a 1-drop, so he will have choice of who, possibly have choice of who goes first. Joe, any comments?
One thing to note that the Gut Rippers only get -1 to hit against things that aren't heroes or monsters. So if you do have a big monster thing, like that is something we're throwing into them. Also, that Shaman's probably not sticking with them, so they're only hitting and wounding on 4s. I assume the big unit will be using spears or stickers, which will have a 2-inch range. So he's going to really hope for weight of dice to get 6s to do mortal. So they're not going to output a lot of damage. I think it's more hoping that, as Nick was saying, pin you and then use the shooting to really clear what he needs to. So
they'll be buffed. That's what the Swamp Call is going to be buffing, is those 6 Bolt Boys for sure.
I think that Killaboss is really the interesting piece, just because it can move around and maybe tie up some fast units to keep things off of his Bolt Boys. And there's the Hobgrots as a little screen as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Chase's advice is the best way to beat this army. Just get him some drinks, and then Billy's fun to play against.
Also, Crow Boys are toilet tissue. Like a 5-up save on the Gut Rippers.
Yeah.
They have. They die to a stiff breeze. So.
That's why they're 2
also-
wounds.
They also have a 5 bravery, so if they're not near that killer boss, like they will be running the battle shock if he can't spend command points for the inspiring presence.
Yep.
Yeah, if you have a monster, I would definitely roar them.
Yeah.
That's enough about Billy's army. Let's keep moving on. We have 24 armies in all. Well, 23 now, but we have 23 armies, so I'm going to try to get through these a little bit, but I still want to expound on them as much as we can. Next is Bob. Bob is a returning from fantasy player, so he's new as far as AOS goes. He has played some games, but he is new and will be counted as one of the Greenhorns for this tournament. He's bringing Blades of Corn, Subfaction Reapers of Vengeance. I'll just read through his list really quick. His grand strat is Take What's Theirs. His Mighty Lord of Corn has the artifacts Crimson Plate and the aspect fueled by Gurish Rage. He's bringing Thedra Skullscryer, which I love to see in the list, and it's probably just because it's a low point, but I just love seeing Thedra. I haven't really seen that model too much. Skullmaster is the general. Command traits: Firebrand, Artifacts of Power, Argath, the King of Blades. Prayers, Bronze Flesh. Hopefully we can actually speak into this army a little bit. I don't know as much about Khorne, so I'm going to let some of these other guys talk about it. But their battle line is the Bloodletters, 2 sets of them, Fleshhounds, and then he's got his Godsworn Hunt and Magar's Friends. So there's quite a few bodies, 90 wounds. It's a 5-drop army. So whoever knows a little bit more on the Khorne side, feel free to speak into this a little bit. And I guess that's no one. They're so new.
No, so it's just a whole new book, but it's going to be mostly him. With Bloodletters get murder rolls, so whenever they die on a 5-up, I believe you get to roll and deal a mortal wound back. And then he's going to be pushing his units up onto the objectives and basically using them as blood tithe plus murder rolls. I believe Mighty Lord of Corn, I actually don't know what that one does. I know it's pretty good though.
The Bloodletters don't have the fight on, or the, unless
Oh,
it's
is it only mortals?
it's the Blood Warriors that have that, but the Bloodletters went up to 2 wounds from their old previous 1 wound, so it makes them a little bit more durable.
Yeah.
But they definitely have the Decapitating Blow, which they still have that, which is unmodified hit rolls of 6 are mortals, not in addition. So there'll be 2 attacks, 3s, -1 damage. So, I mean, they can put out some damage. I mean, they have weight of dice, and they'll do some mortals as well. 5-up save is not great, but
they don't mind dying though. That's
yeah.
the thing. Get that blood tithe.
Their army also has an entire 5-up ignore spells mechanic when they're outside of range, and then they can also deal, I think, damage back to people if it targets and you roll a die or something of that nature.
Yeah, I'm still so new. This book is still so new. I haven't got to see it too much.
So it'll be interesting to see.
My input on Khorne is it will probably be painted red. That's
it will probably be painted red, and they will probably be in your face as fast as possible.
Trying to see what
he brought Galatian sharpshooters with his, it looks like a Warcry warband or something like that.
Let's see. Galatian sharpshooters. Yes.
So if you have any GCs, they will be able to be shot at by that unit.
I'm not sure how many shooters there are in the Godsworn Hunt, but I thought there was
someone in chat. Someone in his chat is mentioning lots of prayers. That is something they're pretty known for.
They won't be doing the spell casting. They're going to be doing prayers that let them kill you.
Prayers are pretty uninteractable, so.
Yep.
Well, but Fedra there is a spellcaster because it's an ally in for probably coalition from
Yeah.
slaves who does have enfeeblement, so it subtracts
Oh,
one
nice.
from wound rolls. And then with bronze flesh, I remember that one being a +1 to the save, so he can make a bloodletting unit decently tanky by throwing a unit it's gonna get into or is get like in combat to enfeeble it, and then having bronze flesh giving a 4-up save, and then he could still do. If Edra gets a 10 plus, I think she can become a 2 caster. So it could get Mystic Shield and all out defense on. So you could have +3 on a Bloodletters unit. I'm just trying to see what some of the artifacts and things do.
that's
Because he only
sick.
has one prayer right there, which is the Skullmaster.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God Wahapedia actually updated this book for some. Like, that was really fast for them.
Yeah,
They're
that's
really
super
quick
fast.
coming.
Because that's what I'm looking at. But I know Korn's always been, they tend to hit hard. So if you have good saves, if you can make them bounce off, they tend to not take the hit back well. And it's generally, can you pick your combats well? And I think that's what it'll come down for him as well. Like, he'll need to know how to pick which combats, when he needs to sort of like swarm in and do a bunch of damage, and when to sort of hold back. I know using a lot of the blood tide stuff is going to be really important. Like, don't overlook that cheap one to move in the hero phase, like being able to set up those good charges and being able to like move back and making the other player like get in that move out of position would be super important.
Yeah, I don't know how many blood tithe all the summons are in this new book, but it will be interesting playing at this 1,000 points, seeing all these guys die, and then a bloodthirster getting in your face. So
I believe they have a way to spend 3 blood tithe to move during.
It's one.
It's
Is
one.
it 1?
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
useful.
And they were talking about you can end within 3 inches with that movement. Like
You can pull
that's
people into combat.
super. Yeah, that's super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bloodthirsters are on 10 blood tithe points, so it's going to be matchup dependent if you have
yeah,
10 units in both armies.
true. Derek did ask, can you ally in a mage in Khorne?
No.
Well, you said there was a allied in mage in the list.
Yeah, there is. Now I gotta check.
Fedra Scrollcry. We'll check it out, Derek, and make sure. If not, we can get him to switch it out pretty easily. But that's something we did not catch early on. So nice call. We'll check it out and look at it. He's a new guy, so it's understandable.
We're new guys, apparently.
Poor new. I mean, I've had to have a few of the new guys switch up some things already, so it happens. But Bob, I'm really liking the list, man. I've never been a fan of Khorne per se, as far as wanting the army, but I do love seeing just the people that play it are a interesting people, and I love them for it.
We've got the #1 Khorne fan coming up later.
#1 Khorne fan. All right. I'm going to move on to the next list while we're also looking through that. So next we have Brant Dinsmore. He's also a new player playing Slaves to Darkness. He's a new player, but his army is good. So really, this is truthfully one to watch out for. And I'm wondering if this is Nick's vote for possible winner of the tournament. I don't know. We'll see. Army faction, Slaves of Darkness. Army subfaction, Knights of the Empty Throne. Grand strategy, defend what's ours. The leader, the generals, let's see here. General is Chaos Lord with the Reaper Blade and Demon Bound Steel. Artifacts are the Arcane Tome with a Nurgle Mark. Chaos Sorcerer Lord, spells Warp Reality, and a Zinch Mark for better spellcasting. Battle line, he's going to have 20 Splintered Fang. That's pretty nasty. Then he has 10 Chaos Warriors, going to hold down some points. Of course, Mark of Chaos Nurgle. 3 Varangard with Fell Spears. Mark of Khorne. So getting those extra attacks. Then the endless spell, the Realm Scourge Rupture. All in a 1-drop. 66 wounds. What's our thoughts here, fellas? Nah, this is gonna be a pretty killy army. You got
Um,
Varangard and Splintered Fang.
so he doesn't have any of his aspects of the champion. I assume the Chaos Lord will have Tunnel Master because usually when I play him, that's what he has in his list. The
Yeah.
Splinter Fang will probably be inside the tower from the. Oh, it's a Chaos. It's not the other one. Sorry. So he'll probably try to teleport something across the board. Um, but yeah, I mean, those Chaos Warriors are really tanky. Definitely with the eroding icon, you're gonna be reducing your rend down by 1, and then in Nurgle, you're going to be -1 to your wound to rolls against them. So -1 the wound's pretty bad in this game. There's not a lot of things that give +1 wound, so that does hurt a bit. The Splinter Fang can do a lot of damage too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're like 3 attacks a piece, and then 4 on the charge, and then 6s are mortals.
Yep.
And then he has 2 little, since it's reinforced, he has 2 snakes that are 2 wounds each that he can bring back in each of his hero phase.
You have
So
shooting. That's your target.
yeah. So they're not very sturdy, so they do die pretty fast. Other than that, like Varangard hurt. They definitely hurt. They can get into with the Fell Spears on the charge. They'll have -3 rend, so they will probably punch through most of the things. Again, it's just a very tanky army. Warriors are gonna hold you in place, and then Splinter Fangs and Varangard are gonna be the things that hit you and try to clean things up.
Yep.
Um,
And Brant's good. I mean, he's one of the new guys, but he's a good player. He thinks a lot of his stuff through. So once he gets to be a faster player too, I can definitely see him taking some good placements in a lot of tournaments.
Does the Mark of Corn for the Varangard, does that just give them extra attack?
On the charge, I believe.
yes, they get +1 attack on the charge.
Yeah.
And he can spend a command point, and then the charge will do mortals on a 2-up D3, mortals on a charge.
And I actually played this list with my 1,000 point list, and yeah, it's impressive, man. Those Chaos Warriors do not want to die. The Splintered Fang hit. They did just deal so many attacks with 6s on mortals. It's disgusting. And I mean, Varangard, they're gonna kill whatever they get into. They're gonna kill. Every list in here, like the Gargant, 35 wounds. Varangard can kill that in one hit, and if they don't, they get another one right after. So
Yep, they get the double attack.
this
it's
is
nasty.
my this is the one that I think. If not this one, there's a Soul Blight one. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, this one's nasty, and I'm looking forward to seeing how nasty it gets and how mentory the mentors can stay while facing this down. I'm really stoked to see just that play off in a lot of these armies too, because we do have some new guys with some like.
You missed your battle tactic? Oh, it's too bad. Oh no.
Oh shucks. No, that's I can't wait to see that. That's gonna be a fun tournament. All right, next list is Brian Ronning, Soul Blight. We have Virkos Dynasty, the Grand Strat Lust for Domination. We've got Ivia Volga as his general with Spewer trackers. Standard of the Elfin Watch as his artifact. Necromancer with Fading Vigor. A Vampire Lord with a Spirit Gale. Leadership of the Alpha, giving out that 3 different commands. Or 3 commands to 3 different units. Deadwalker Zombies. Death Rattle Skeletons. Blood Knights. Okay, he does have some Blood Knights in here with a Corpse Cart. Grave Guard. So, I mean, he's definitely got some hard-hitting stuff.
Yeah,
Carter?
he's going with the traditional synergistic list, basically just a big death ball of the Vampire Lord with the Necromancer following with the Graveguard, and then he's probably gonna have a screen of either the skeletons or the zombies. Spore Trackers allows his zombies to move, or any of his Death Rattle units to move 3 inches in the hero phase, so you can kind of get a little bit of a extra jump in movement. It's probably just going to push out into the center of the board and or to a specific objective and hold it down while Blood Knights go and do other things. If you attack into this list, you're probably just going to get screened by zombies, and then his Graveguard are going to be able to punch through afterwards and just kill anything that's going to be behind it. Also, a lot of the lists are in the 1,000-point tournament are playing Virkos because you get to summon 20 or 10 free wolves, and that's just extra points in your list. Like,
and are they 2 wounds each?
Two wounds each, and you can also bring or add additional units to it with some of the heroic actions from Virkos. So you can buff your 10-man unit of the wolves up to like 12 to 13 and keep going. And so you can go over the cap.
That's sick.
It's pretty strong.
And of course we got their Blood Knights slamming into stuff. The Graveguard, if you allow them to get close, they're going to wreck shop, go through some spinner blades. But yeah, the nasty thing about these Soulblight Gravelords armies is you just have to watch out for that summoning. Watch out for the summoning and then just the coming back. It gets really, really nasty.
Gravesite control in the early game is going to be important because if you put something in the grave, you can bring it up outside of 9 of you, but it has to be wholly within the gravesite. So if you can,
is it wholly within 12 or wholly within?
Within 12, yeah, outside of 9. So he's got about a 3-inch wiggle room unless you line up your unit so he can't use it at all, which you could stop some early spread by just positioning properly and basically blocking those off.
Cover the manholes, the sewers. Don't let them come up. You heard it here first, folks. This is how to beat Soulblight.
Yeah, Evia Volga is the new hero. She's okay. She kills monsters. Like that's her thing. So if you have like a decent monster, that's what she's going to come at with. She reduces all their damage to 1, I believe. So if they have like a 4 wound attack, like 4 damage attack, it's only going to do 1 damage instead. So like she can probably neuter a zombie dragon or something else, but
yikes.
I don't know.
Nice. Any other comments about this list?
I would say it's not the damage. She turns their attack characteristic to 1. So like he gets into a Gargant, they get 3 swings. Like she's really good against monsters. That standard of the Ulfenwatch is pretty neat. The army's kind of moved away from command points, but every time your opponent spends 1, you roll a dice, and on a 4-up, you get a command point. So you can stack up a lot of command points with this army.
You're definitely using Inspiring Presence every turn, though, because you lose a lot of units pretty quickly. Those zombies are 6-up save, so they die quickly.
I like the list, though. It's a neat list.
It's good. Cool. All right, Byron. Chris. All right, so yeah, Byron had to drop, so we're not going to be going over his list today. Chris Hutchison is another new person, also coming from, I believe, the James Matthews clan of former fantasy players or something like that. Anyway, so good to have you, Chris. It's another Soulblight Gravelords list. This time, Castelli Dynasty, Grand Strat, Lust for Domination again. We got a Vampire Lord with Swift and Deadly command traits, Fragment of the Keep, Levitate spell, which you don't really get to see often, and I do love it when people actually bring that and use it. It's always fun to see what they do with that. Aspects of the Champion, fueled by Gurish Rage again. Then we have the White King on Skeletal Steed. And that one gives the pluses to what? I forgot what the Skeletal Steed did.
The Black Knights do mortals on impact.
Okay, yeah, there's Black Knights in this list. Okay.
You roll 2 dice per model in the unit, and each 5-up is a mortal, but with him it's a 4-up.
Yep, okay. And then we have Blood Knights, 2 sets of them, 2 sets of Black Knights, and you kind of mentioned it already. He is going to be coming in trying to shoot for those mortals with the Black Knights, bringing them back on death and doing it again. So Be on
And
the
re-rolling
watch.
charges with the Vampire Lord. This is my.
Oh yeah.
I went back and forth between this one and the coming up similar list with the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, but I really like this one. It's going to look really cool on the table, and Black Knight screening for Blood Knights is just scary because they're going to charge in with Black Knights, do those impact mortals, do whatever they need to
Yeah.
do, screen out for the Blood Knights, and you kill him, and he can bring them right back, and they can do it again.
And then the Blood Knights will hold you down.
And
It's
the
hard to kill
the
Knights.
White King is also summonable, so you can bring him back too.
Ah.
That's a new thing in the book. You can actually bring some of the heroes back.
Yeah, it's a lot easier
That's
to bring back now. It's at the end of movement phase, and you can bring out outside of 3 inches instead of outside of 9 now. But you can't pile in or charge or anything like that.
Interesting.
I like this list. This
This
is my
list,
other
yeah.
pick.
I can definitely see some synergy here. That's good. He's got a 1 drop, of course. So we'll see how he uses that. And 62
It's going to be
wins.
very mobile, so he'll be able to get pretty much anywhere on the board quickly.
Yeah, these guys are fast. Everything but the Vampire Lord. It's going to be quick, so you got to be on your heels. Carter, how about you talk to us about your list?
Oh, it's a narrative list.
Carter is
For
one of
full
our
micros.
experienced players. He has been to some tournaments and has quite a few armies.
A couple. We're getting there. But yeah, it's Belladonna Volga. She's one of the best casters from the new book. Double caster. Her spells are pretty nutty. You can target an enemy unit and deal mortal wounds to it. If you kill a model, you can put a wolf into it. So it will lock them into combat. So it's really good against range shooting. So that's something to watch out for. It's just parking your range outside of range of her spells before the hero phase. Radikar, you saw how good he was in the game we played, Chase. The
Yeah,
new
he's-
hunger ability,
he,
he heals up to
he
6
hits
wounds
really
after
hard.
combat. Yeah, he does mortals
hits-
like really easily on 6s on most of his attacks. And it's
Yep.
just pretty nutty.
He's surprisingly tanky too for
Yeah, he is.
a 4-up save because he's a constant -1 to hit, -1 to wound.
Yeah,
He's a
And-
brick.
he'll take
got a
like
nice
5
glow
damage,
up.
but then go back up to full because of the hunger. The hunger is really a good rework on how they had it from before. It was a little bit boring in the last book, but now it's actually impactful. Vampire Lord he's got the +1 attacks aura you give at the start of the hero or start of combat phase. You can give that to a unit. Usually it's gonna go on like Deadwalker zombies. They have 2 attack space now. I've got a 40 black, but we're just probably gonna drop it somewhere and sit on an objective and hold it down for a little bit. If they get killed on a 6-up, I'm gonna do a mortal back to you. So that's something.
The way to beat Carter is you just get on all those manhole sewers. Those manhole covers.
Yeah, if
don't let
you-
him bring
if-
those zombies up.
If you let me take first turn, I can pretty much spread out across the entire board, and then you're in for a troubled fight.
And Carter's a 1 drop, so don't let him pick on you, folks.
No, it's a.
How do you,
post
Carter? How do you
list.
beat you?
Mostly just being fast and mobile, because all my units are relatively slow, except for Radikar, who can run and charge. No, I don't know. Does he have run and charge? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he run in charges, and I think if he takes damage
I've got
in
the
a
art.
turn, he can move 6 inches or something like that. Or
I've got-
D6.
yeah, if you shoot him or do some sort of damage to him, he actually gets to move after that damage goes through. So if you do like a spell that does damage to him, he gets to move D6. If you shoot him, he gets to move D6. It's pretty cool. So he's like incentivizing you not to shoot him because then he's going to get closer or get somewhere he wants to be. It's kind of fun.
That's cool.
When I saw this, I had one question. Since Vikros can put their enhancements on heroes, what was your thinking with the Phylactery and putting it on Belladonna instead of Radikar? or the like
So
that, because Radicar's where the combat's going to be.
yeah,
You
I like Radikar more of just I'm gonna go off and do my own thing because in 1,000 point games you're not facing against like super hard hitting units. The highest points are usually like 200, 300 point heroes, and so he's gonna be one of the bigger top dogs that people have invested in. So he can probably handle a combat 1v1. So he's just gonna go run off and do his own thing. While Veladama with the phylactery is a 5-up ward instead of a 6-up ward on Deathless Minions. So with her and her wolves, she's never going to leave an objective. Like you can't kill that.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
20 wolves adding 3 every hero phase. That's pretty nice.
It's pretty good. And
That's
so you're
good.
just kind of sitting there with 5-up ward save, and she has a self save of a 3-up. So if you try to take her out, it's very difficult, and she can heroic recovery or something if I wanted to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And she's mostly just there for the buff of exploding sixes that she can give out. It's a 24-inch aura, I believe. Now it's a spell she can cast, and so it's pretty good.
It's decent.
We're just gonna swarm the board and just hold objectives and call it a day.
Yep. All right, let's get on to the next person. Charles Belts with the OCR Bone Reapers, Subfaction Crematorians. Grand strategy, defend what's ours. Going with the Liege Cavalos, a Mortison Bone Shaper. The Liege Cavalos is the general with Mighty Arcosian. The Artifacts of Power, Load of Saturation. The Mortison Bone Shaper has Empower Nadirite weapons and Fueled by Gurish Rage. Battle line, we got our Cavalos Death Riders, we got our Horsey Boys. Some Mortet Guard, looks like that is a reinforced unit. Good old Harvester, and of course the Bone Tithe Nexus. And I believe his OCR cohort gives him that 1 drop. Only 57 wounds, guys. Only 57.
Yeah, only 57.
Yeah, he
That's
went
just coming
Crematorians
back.
as well. Crematorians is an interesting choice. They like explode when they die.
5
I think.
ups.
Yeah.
5 ups. They're just like your zombies. 5 ups and they do mortals back, except it's a
And
whole.
then come back.
The big thing is that Harvester is the big linchpin of the army. Because everything that dies within 6 inches on a 4-up can add. It essentially works like most of the healing stuff for undead. Like he can either heal a wound or he bring back a model in a unit. And the great thing with that is it's any models within 6. So if he kills your models or his own models die, then they're coming back on a 4-up. So there's more tech guard. We'll have a 3 or 4-up base save, and then a 5 to 6 up ward, and then a 4-up to just stand back up. Top
It's
of them
nasty.
blowing up
So
in your face.
kill that Harvester. Don't.
The problem is he's probably going to be deathballing, where it's just a Harvester inside of a block
Oh,
of
yeah. Oh yeah.
20 more.
He's gonna have that thing blocked off. And if
Yeah,
he's
and
using
then-
his horsies right, he probably will be keeping them pretty close and using them as a screen.
I will say his army is going to have the issue of it's going to be a one whole death ball where he can only go to certain objectives. He doesn't have much mobility outside of controlling objectives over here and some over here, unless he wants to spread out his power.
Yeah, and usually he wants to use those Death Riders to try to go and nab some objectives every now and then. But
Yeah, so
if he's protecting
honestly-
that Harvester, he might have to keep those Death Riders around. So we'll see.
yeah, if you can kill those Death Riders early, he's going to have a hard time actually taking objectives.
Yeah, that Liege Cavalos, according to Derek, is a tanky boy. I haven't looked at the new Liege Cavalos yet.
He's pretty good.
Derek, you can leave us some comments on what makes him so tanky, because as an OBR player, you probably are a little bit more experienced with the new book already than we are. But from the battle reports and the quick read through of the rules, they are looking nasty. Very, very much familiar back to that the old 2.0 days, whenever they came out and wrecked all of our faces.
Those
And
are
we
good
couldn't
days.
kill them. Man, those days
I got
were.
to
Oh
play-
man.
I got to Tuesday. We were running a 2,000 point game though, and yeah, they got so many different buffs and little abilities they can add to things. It was impressive. I would hate to try and remember all of their little things, but
Was he?
But
it was.
I'm sorry.
He gave my dragons like all I wanted, man. I might have done everyone a disservice or did Charles a favor because I charged in with my dragons into Mortek, and like they were super buffed up, and what my dragons were, and I cleared them. But he forgot to do the blow up. I probably would have killed at least one dragon and like completely changed the game. And those painful moments, when you forget something, make sure you don't forget that later. And so I can almost guarantee you, Charles will remember to blow up now from now on, just because that probably would have shifted the whole match.
Yeah, Derek mentioned that that Liege Cavalos is used a little bit from a lot of these armies. Is used as a distraction Carnifex. For those new players that don't know what a distraction Carnifex means, it's a term that kind of goes back to some older Tyranid 40k stuff where they would bring this huge Carnifex literally to just distract you, where you would go try to beat up on this thing that was very, very hard to beat up, while the rest of the army actually does what their real job is and gets those points. So don't fall for the distraction Carnifexes. Say again, Carter?
Never forget, it's a points game. It's not a kill your opponent game.
Yep, that's one of the biggest things we can keep reminding the new players, that this is all about points, guys. Death, from your enemy can give you some points, but it's more about figuring out your positioning, not being charged when you don't want to be charged, etc. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and since Charles is one of the newer players, some things that he should, make sure he pays attention to is mastering all of his rules is gonna be one of the big challenges. But also like learning like what the pop on the bone type nexus and when to use it or what the target. Knowing when to strike out with his Mortek guard when from playing a defensive game to now I have to switch to offensive.
Yeah.
So like those are things that like he will probably want to start focusing on, is making those adjustments as he starts getting used to the tempo of his army and then getting the tempo of different armies that he plays against.
Yeah, and it sounds very intimidating, but also knowing all of your enemies is so key, especially in this game, because you need to know how far certain units move. You need to know exactly how hard certain things hit. You need to know
Don't be afraid to ask your opponent,
Yes.
hey, what does that do and how far can it get me?
Yes, exactly. So, anyway, Charles, love the list, man. It's looking good. All right, moving on. Like I said to these guys before, we're trying to get through the list a little bit succinctly, try to get through it so you guys aren't listening to 3 hours worth of commentary, but I think we can make it through in maybe 2 hours. We'll see. We're at 60 minutes so far, so we're about halfway through all the lists. We did start with talking about a bunch of stuff before. So David Westfall playing Sylvaneth, super excited to see it. Playing Heartwood, giving the buffs to his Kurnoth Hunters in Heartwood. He's from Gur, take what's theirs as his grand strategy with Bloodthirsty Triumph. He's got an Archrev with Stubborn as a Rhinox, Branch Witch with the Vesperal Gem and Spellsinger, so she's going to be able to cast things through the trees. And Vesperal Gem, I am blanking on what that does, but I'll look it up in a second here. Then he's got 2 units of Dryads and 2 units of Kurnoth Hunters with Great Swords, so he's going to be looking for 6s for some explosions on those Great Swords. Of course, using the Spite Swarm Hive. Spite Swarm is going to give him the +2 to charge, which is super, super nasty, especially through the trees.
Trying to unbind that is probably going to be huge if you have a wizard, because that can ruin his day.
Anytime that he teleports, it's just like any teleport, he has to stay outside of 9, so any of the places where he can grab those pluses to charge, he's going to be grabbing them as much as possible so he can teleport in, charge you, and get in your face as soon as possible, nab you. The big thing about the Sylvaneth is they can come in, they can attack you, then they can fade out. They can literally hit you first and then leave before you hit them, which is amazing. He can't do it with a lot of people. He can only do it with one unit, but the ability still stands. He can get in there really fast with those great swords. That's what he's going to be doing. He's going to be coming at you with these big old walking trees with swords, and he's going to hit you hard and jump out as fast as possible. Essentially, it's another game of attrition, but in a little bit different of a way. He's not going to be sitting there trying to buff up his stuff, holding you for a while. He's going to come in, kill something, and get out. So be on the lookout for these great swords. David is not a new player, so I can tell you guys exactly how to beat him. It's fine. As far as the overall army, though, I'm really, really liking it. He's going to be doing the Spell Singer, like I said, through the trees. I can't remember which spell the Branch Witch actually has.
You just said in the chat, autocast in my tree lore. I'm guessing that's what the Vesperal Gem does.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the
once
autocast.
per turn in your hero phase,
which is amazing.
Yeah,
but it is specifically in the lore. So I don't think the Spite Storm counts. Is that right?
No, because it's not of the lore of the Deep Void.
So it would be whatever her War Scroll spell is, which I am blanking what the War Scroll spell is. Let me look here. Pull up one of my Sylvaneth lists.
As far as beating Sylvaneth, the best way I found is just holding the trees hostage with units so that they can't use them for teleports. It helps because their mobility is.
Oh,
really
she's got the mini Warsong Revenant spell, the Unleash Spites. So it's a casting value of 5, so super easy cast. Range of 9 inches, but if successfully cast, you roll a number of dice equal to the casting roll for each enemy unit within range. So if there are multiple units within one tree, within 9 inches of one tree, it's the casting roll, whatever he rolls, and then 5s are mortals. So it's kind of that mini Warsong Revenant bomb.
But she can't use the Vesperal Gem on any of that except for a spell from the actual spell list,
what is she taking?
Which she hasn't taken any.
This list right now in front of her.
Yeah, she hasn't taken that.
It literally says it can only be from the spell lore.
You're right.
Are you ruining this man's whole career right now?
Yeah, we are. But he also didn't take one yet, so he probably needs to take a spell from the spell lore.
Definitely send us one of those. I'm going to reread that Vesperal Gem too. Did you specifically make sure it said from the lore?
Yeah, I can read it. It says, once per turn in your hero phase, before the bear attempts to cast a spell from the lore of the Deepwood, instead of making a casting roll for that spell, you can say you use it, and then it's automatically cast, can't be unbound, and then after the effect, you roll a die and a 1, the bear suffers D3 mortal. So it says from the lore of Deepwood, so it has to be the taken spell.
So they're going to be looking at the D3 mortal spell from the Deadly Harvest, which isn't a crazy one. But he does have regrowth. He does have Dwellers Below. Dwellers Below is another really, really good spell. It's essentially it's a spell cast of 7 and range of 12, which makes it a little bit more susceptible to actually get people. You pick a unit within range and roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in that unit. For each 5 up, they suffer mortal wounds. So, there are some really good spells in the lore of the Deepwood, but David, definitely send us.
What's the spell that makes another tree, or makes something a tree?
Their basic making a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember what it's called. It's not in the Deepwood though. It's just their basic. It might be all the lore or something like that. Can't remember what they say.
It's one of their battle traits. It's Verdant Glutton. So just all Sylvaneth wizards know it.
Yeah, that one.
But it's not part of the lore.
Yeah. No, there are certain units that can cast it, but
David's army is beautiful. He did a really good job.
Heck yeah. And I love Sylvaneth players. For some reason, it seems like the Sylvaneth players always have pretty armies.
They're also always nice.
And they're always so nice as they slowly paper cut you to death. I love it. This is super nice, Dave. Also, Dave, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to keep adding too. Next, we got Derek. We have our Skaven army, a amazing Skaven army too. I'm looking forward to it, Derek. I'm looking forward to you winning this tournament.
He's a grinder. He's just gonna chew up some people.
So he's got a Claw Lord with the Warpstone Charm, fueled by Gurish Rage, aspect of the champion. A Plague Priest as his general with Master of Rotten Ruin, with Rabid as his prayer. His battle line, he's got Storm Vermin, 20 of them. Those things are going to come in and be a grinder for sure. Clan Rats, 20 of them. 20 Clan Rats, I mean, that's the basic amount. But then he's got a Plague Claw. Love seeing that in the list. You don't get to see those enough.
Yeah, there's a reason you don't see any of those.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I love the Plague Claw. And then 20 Plague Monks, and those are definitely the grinder for sure. He does have a 3-drop with 96 wounds. It is funny that he has about the same amount of wounds as Cruel Boys here. Joe, you want to talk about our Skaven?
Yeah. It's going to just be a bunch of Clan Rats up front. Their whole purpose is to die, and they're going to be there to protect the hard-hitting units, which is the Storm Vermins and the Plague Monks. Storm Vermins themselves are, I think, 2 attacks each, and then hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, -1/1 damage. So that's a lot of attacks. The Claw Lord has a good command ability. I think gives them +1 attacks as well. You don't usually see the Clan Claw Lord a lot, but that Warpstone Charm is anything within 3 is -1 to their save as well. So they're very deceptive. And then, of course, if you somehow kill him, fueled by Gurish Rage, he'll come back. They're also a pain. His heroes are pain because they can also use, I think they still have the Lookout Sir type rule, -1 they hit in both melee and shooting, but I could be wrong. Maybe they don't have that. Nope, lead from the back. Subtract 1 from hit rolls made with melee weapons to target a Skaven hero. So, they're going to be hard to pick out. Plague Monks are just disgusting.
They are.
He has Rabid, so that means that prayer gives his Plague Monks +1 to attack. And then when they charge, they get +1 attack, so they could be 4 attacks each. -1 the wound really hurts Plague Monks because then they start wounding on 5s, which can really reduce it. And so really it's going to be hide behind Clan Rats, and then when you chew through them, the actual big hitters will come out behind them and take care of stuff. And then that Plague Claw. You're actually making me look up the
Don't worry about it. It won't do damage.
If it hits, it'll do a little bit of damage. But it's got like a 30-inch reach, right?
Yeah, 30, and it's 3 and 2 -2 ran. It get D6 damage.
Oh, it's 3 and 2 now? Wow.
I think they made it a little bit better, but it's still only 1 shot, I think.
Ooh, but if you target something that has 10 or more models, you add +1 they hit, and its damage characteristic is 2d6. And also adds 2 to battle shock rolls for units that are targeted by
they've upgraded that thing.
Does it have Ren?
Yeah, -2 Rens.
Okay.
So it's actually not bad.
We joke, but
you hit something.
It used to be like 5s and 4s. Something stupid like that.
Now it's not bad. I mean, you can
bad.
definitely hit some big, hitting big units. So things like zombies, this is the perfect thing to shoot at zombies because you're just 2s, -2, and then 2d6 damage on them.
It's a little random with the 2d6, but
sure. But I
mean,
for
120 points too, though.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
In which case, if you roll well and then you add a lot of command abilities, you only have a bravery of 8, so because I'll add 2 to your roll, so you can do some work against some big stuff. The other big thing to watch out for Skaven is they have gnaw holes that they put on the edge, and they can have one unit pop up and basically go to the other gnaw hole and be outside of 9 of enemy units, so they can be pretty deceptive. A large part of playing Skaven right is knowing how to use the threat of null holes to pull and to shift armies, like, throwing a null hole just in the back of your enemy's territory, a lot of times makes, someone have to spread out or keep a unit back to prevent you from popping up behind them. Null holes also give +1 to casting and unbind in prayers. And so, like with the Master of Rotten Ruin, like that Plague Priest will be at +2 to his prayers, which gives him an easier time getting Great Plagues up as well, because he'll only need near null hole a +4 on his die to get a Great Plague as well, which they have a whole range of special effects. So it's not a bad list. Like,
No, it's not
he
at
can
all.
he'll hit hard after you kill his clan rats, and that the plague claws. I think it's going to do some work. I think it's going to catch some people by surprise.
Yeah, from playing Skaven, the only thing that you have issues with is bravery and battle shock. If you get hit hard, you will lose units.
Yeah, it is definitely, it is also, you on the Skaven side, you have to pick your combats. This is not an army you throw everything in, because like if you throw a bunch of your Storm Vermin in and your Plague Monks and you don't swing with your Plague Monks first, they're gonna get it, and they're gonna get swinged on, and they're gonna probably die because they're only 6-up saves, and you'll probably lose that whole unit. So it is definitely you need to learn to pick your engagements. You need to learn when to jump in and jump out. So one thing you can do against this, if definitely if the movement, is to swarm it and hit those big pieces before they can hit you, because Plague Monks will not stand up to that. The
Derek,
other thing is,
by the way, Joe, Derek also did mention that he also brought the Galatian Command, which could be very, very interesting with this army. Not a lot of people have brought it.
I think it'll be hard. I mean, you may be able to do a Storm Vermin, but it's just you don't generally have great saves that, if you're not killing whatever you're going into and someone's swinging back, you're not going to probably have a lot left. So, like, sure, watch out for the hero phase fighting, but I don't think there'll be a lot of Storm Vermin left if you're getting the swing on them, because they only have a 4-up save, they're 1 wound each. So, I mean, even with an all-out defense, like, they're still going to mostly be on a 4-up base. The other thing that Skaven tend to struggle with is against shooting, if you know what to shoot. So picking out those scary things before they even have a chance to get to you can also hurt.
We haven't seen a ton of shooting yet, so
sorry, Derek, I just gave away your whole.
This is my pick for the most likely to win best.
Most generous?
No, he's probably going to win as the best mentor, because he is such a pleasant person. Like, Amen. Derek is awesome.
Amen. No, I would say one other thing to the new players: do look out for these screens. They're not going to do anything, but they will come back pretty easy on rallies, and they will be carrying these nasty things behind them with the Plague Monks and the Storm Vermin. So if you are able to get around the screens, do it. Don't bother with the clan rats. They will, if you run away from them, they might grab some objectives or whatever. But definitely take out the killy stuff first. The Storm Vermin and especially the Plague Monks are really going to eat your face if you don't take care of them quickly. Looks like the claw. Derek's saying the Claw Lord hits hard. That with the SV will swing together. Storm Vermin, yeah, that makes sense. In the combat phase, this have to just be in the hero phase. Correct. Yes, and I can't remember how hard the Claw Lord actually does hit. How many attacks does he have now?
About 5. I mean, he's not bad. I mean, he can definitely do well. Definitely with the Warpstone Charm, where he's doing -1 to your save. Like, he acts like a little mini Purple Sun, just minus, auto killing stuff.
That's not bad.
This is war scroll. He's 6 attacks, 3 threes, -1, 2 damage. So I mean, he can do stuff. And then for every wound on him, he adds another attack character. So if he has 3 wounds sitting on him, he'll be up to 9 attacks. So he's not bad.
Yeah, this is definitely not a bad looking army at all. I'm really liking it. First of all, I'm a huge Skaven fan. I love the Skavens. I think 3 of us have Skaven armies. Joe, Carter, and myself, I believe. So We're all fanboys. So, all right, next army. We're gonna get to James Matthews, who has been off Facebook for a while, so he hasn't seen any of these beautiful posts we've made. So sad, but he's playing Soulblight Grave Lords with Legion of Blood. What does the Legion of Blood do again?
It buffs vampire heroes.
Okay. I thought there was... Oh, and you can take Black Knights as battle line, right? With the Legion of Blood. Okay. So we got Vampire Lord as the general with Tailored Downfall, Cloak of Mists and Shadows, a flaming weapon spell, and fueled by Gurish Rage. He's got Necromancer with Fading Vigor, White King with Griff Feather Charm. And the White King, remind me what the White King does. He's not the Skeletal Steed one. He gives buffs to charges.
Gives skeletal death rattles, or no, it's just the skeletons and the Graveguard exploding 6s to hit.
That's what it was. Okay. And then he's going to be playing with Black Knights, 1 unit of those, Death Rattle Skeletons, a big 20 block, 20 Graveguard, which of course are nasty. Those things are shredders, and Fell Bats, probably for some objective grabbing. Who wants to talk over our beautiful Soulblight Grave Lords list here?
One thing I will say, that Vampire Lord, Cloak of Mist and Shadows makes him unrendable. Nice. Can't also, I mean, you just can't modify the save at all. So no all-out defense, right? It's just straight 3-up save. And Tailored Downfall, he picks a hero from your army, and if that Vampire Lord is within 3 inches, can hit it on a 2-up.
Yeah.
Anything that's swinging at it.
It looks like James is really trying to just go Vampire Lord. He's getting into combat and hitting things because he took a flaming weapon. He's got fueled by Gurish Rage, and he's just going in. So be prepared to fight a Vampire Lord, which their combo is not bad.
6 attacks, 3s and 3s. Well, it'll be 2s and 3s because it'll be against a hero. He's going to take that hero to your hero and see what happens.
He's going to get +1 attacks from Legion of Blood. So
yeah.
So how do you beat James, guys?
Really, just kill that Graveguard unit quickly before it kills you, and more than likely ignore Death Rattle Skeletons as best you can because they're going to be coming back every combat phase.
That's a nasty tar pit. Let them have what they take. Because they're going to go sit on an objective.
You'll probably waste a turn or two just trying to get rid of him, and then he'll probably just bring back 10 the next turn, so it's not really worth it.
Yeah, and he's got the Graveguard and Galatian Veterans too. So it's going to get nasty. It's going to be everyone hitting you from that unit.
I don't really understand that because all the units he's got in that are on 25 mil bases.
I thought
they're 2-inch range, 25 mil bases.
I thought the Graveguard were 32.
They're small base.
Well, then I don't know.
They're pretty nasty. Don't let them attack you with those because it will wipe out a unit that's attacking.
Yep. All right.
Get an extra attack from the Vampire and exploding 6s. Those Graveguard are going to be nasty.
Yep, and like we said earlier, look out for the Black Knights coming in and charging you. The Death Rattle Skeletons are going to be annoying, but the Graveguard are definitely the thing to look out for in this list.
And Fellbats?
Oh, Fellbats, of course. Yeah, they're super fast. They're going to get around you. They're going to try to grab any objectives that you're not on. So make sure that you kind of keep an eye on them. If you're able to shoot them, awesome. Take them out in one turn because I think they're going to be rallied back pretty easily, right?
And each time they kill a model, they get +1 attack. Yes. So if you don't take care of them, they can slowly build up. And they do 2 damage each. It can slowly build up to being pretty scary.
And they can beef up and rally back and still have that buff, right?
They have the hunger. So if they deal damage, they can heal back to full, but they cannot bring back bats without actually spending a rally. But I don't know if they have a hero, so they'd need to be within range of a Vampire Lord or Necromancer or something. And then they have to roll the 6, so it's not that if you can kill a bat, you're in a good spot. But it's just they're just a unit that's going to go and try to take an objective and kill a unit if you left something really weak on backboard.
Turn off my camera for a little bit. It's overheating a little bit. I'm using a DSLR, so being all fancy over here. All right, so let's go to the next list. We have Mr. Sinesh. He was joking in chat a little while ago and said, Skaven, I guess I'm going to drop. So he better not drop. That's all I got to say. He's bringing his wife along, so he better not drop.
Just leave her.
John is a new-ish player. He will not be one of the Greenhorn combatants, but he has been to a few tournaments, and he'll be playing the Gloomspite Gits, Subfaction Kings Gits, Chasing the Moon Grand Strategy. He will have a dank hold Trog Boss. Love seeing that. Fungoid Cave Shaman. That Trog Boss has Loon Skin command trait and the Pet Gribbly artifact. And this Cave Shaman with Nickit and the leadership of the Alpha. He has also got Scragrot, the Wizard Sniper, in his list, along with 2 sets of Troggoths, some Moonclan Stabas, and some spells, Scuttletide and Geminids. All at 67 wounds, 1 drop. Joe?
So if he drops, I'll just bring my Gits army, and then
No, I
will
need you to
mention
TO.
So yeah, so King's Gits. The big thing to know about that is he'll get a reroll to bring back any of his units. So a big thing about Gits is whenever a unit is destroyed that's not a champion or a monster, they can roll in their battle shock phase, not every, just their battle shock, and the unit comes back once at half strength. So it makes the army sort of hard to just wipe off the table in one go, because things like rock guts and little grots are all coming back usually at certain points. Chasing the moon's really easy. You just have to have your general under the effect of the bad moon for 3 turns, so it's usually pretty gimme. The Dank Hold Trog Boss, big thing, Loonskin actually lets him bring an endless spell for free, so he's bringing the Scuttletide. Scuttletide's a really nice spell because it actually comes off of a terrain piece, and all you have to do is be able to see the terrain piece. So this thing can actually pop up across the board. And then the really nice thing is you pick a unit within, I think, 3 of, and then you roll like 12 dice, and every 5 up is a more, maybe it's 8 dice. But the nice thing is every unit that ends a movement within 3 of it, also that effect. So if you're going against an army that wants to castle up, then just technically not moving is still a move. And base, so it's also good for blocking things out. The Shaman has Nickit, which basically, if he is a 10 plus in the casting, you can turn artifacts of power off, so that is something to look out for. The big thing, Skargrot is a huge linchpin for this army. He acts as being under the effect of the moon. Everyone within 12 inches is. He gets a free command point a turn that he can spend. He can stop the moon, and that moon has a huge effect because all of his trogs, while they're under the effect of the moon, will be +1 to save. So those rock guts will be a 3+ save, then a 5 up ward. And then Geminids are an interesting choice. They have a lot more play than a lot of people give them credit for.
They used to have a lot more play back in 2.0.
Back when they did like -1 to attack and -1 to hit. But even now, like turning off things like, I remember when Nick and I played and I used it to turn off things like redeploying his giants or re-rolling charges. So like it has a lot more play, and you're starting to see a lot more movement phase and hero phase command stuff, like with KO, like a Geminids could shut down a KO army just because, oh, I hit your boat with it, now you can't fly high and do anything that you need to, drop guys off, or really anything can come out of it. So it's not a bad spell. But yeah, it's the moon, the Stabas are just gonna be a nice big 20 block of just guys getting in the way. They're gonna be -1 to hit in melee, so they can be hard to shift sometimes. They don't have great saves, but really that -1 to hit can sort of force you to spend command points that you wouldn't want to otherwise.
Yeah, being tricky, trying to grab those objectives from far away.
Yeah, 9 inches away to hold objectives is also really big. Rock guts hit hard, so really that's what you have to watch out for. They're like -2 rend, 3 damage each. That and the all of his trogs every hero phase can heal D3. So if you it's not really a big deal in the rock guts because you'll tend to lose a model or two, but it's a really big deal in the trog boss. Like if you don't put a lot into him, he can heal up his damage pretty fast. But yeah, I mean it's a pretty decent list. I think not a lot to draw someone forward, and I think that'll be the biggest thing. The biggest thing is Skargot with his 24-inch spell, which basically you roll the casting value and every 3-up is immortal. So like he can pick off some heroes, but there's not a lot driving people forward in the list. But otherwise, sort of the same thing with the Skaven. Like you'll hit the Stabbers, and then behind that will be some mean rock guts who will hit you back pretty hard.
I like the list though, John. It's a nice one. I love gets. I think using the stabbers as more of a screen too, and holding those rock guts, not necessarily just getting in people's face right away. Definitely picking your battles since you only have 2 different units. Trying to save those up a little bit, maybe do one at a time. Definitely getting in there rather than just sending everything in, getting killed off, and not having much swing back. But all right, cool. Next list is Jonathan Napick. He's always the guy to look out for if you've ever played him in a tourney or watched him in a tourney.
The people's champion.
He is the people's champion. He's playing the Flesh Eater Courts with the Grand Court Blister skin. He's got a Grand Strategy, The Day is Ours. He's got an Aberrant Archregent as his general with Hellish Orator, Eye of Hish as his artifact, a Cryptghast Courtier with a Flayed Pennant, and another Courtier with Leadership of the Alpha. He's got 30 ghouls, so big old blocks of ghouls, and then some Crypt Horrors with the Burning Head finishing out his 1,000 points. He's got 87 wounds of nasty zombie ghouls.
And like 30 wounds in summons.
Yep. Yeah.
I believe every one of those heroes can summon in more.
Yeah, I don't remember the summon exactly. I thought it was only 1, but it could be 2.
Blister skin has the exploding hits, right?
No, they all like move an extra 2 inches.
Yeah, they're fast.
And then I think something can deploy, like I think they can like deep strike, deploy off the board and deep strike.
Yeah, they can. He can pop up behind you with like I think 10 ghouls, something like that. It's nothing. It's nothing crazy as far as the deep strike, but I mean, just the fact that he's got 2 sets of 30 ghouls, those things are going to be across the board pretty quick. Holding down objectives, rallying back pretty easily. He doesn't have any Terrorgeists, which are the usual no Terrorgeists and no what's the other unit I'm thinking of here?
He doesn't have a smash bat.
Flayers.
Yes. Flayers. That was the other one. No flares. What are the Crypt Horrors?
Horrors are the big dudes that just kind of lumber about. They don't have the wings. Or
the no wing dudes. So they're not super fast as far as that goes, but they will stick around, and
sure
that's a lot of attacks. That's a whole lot of attacks. But most of the super scary stuff is not there, at least.
He can only teleport something that can fly.
Oh, interesting.
But everything will have extra 2 inches on its movement for Blisterkane.
We'll be throwing buckets of dice. That's what Flesh Eater Quartz do. It's just buckets of dice. And made out of toilet paper.
That's another one, even if it says 87 wounds, there's a lot of wounds that can be summoned into that list.
Yep. Exactly.
I think the Archregent can summon in a Courtier. And then the 2 Courtiers plus the one that can summon in 10 ghouls.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's all War Scroll based too, so it's It's gonna be a lot of bodies.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I truthfully think Jonathan is going to be my probably vote for top mentor of the tourney. We'll see. We'll see how it is. But he's definitely who I got my money on for top mentor. All right, next we got Juan Martinez. Juan is bringing the Soul Blight Gravelords with Castellai, Lust for Domination, a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, something really big and nasty. He's got 2 sets of Blood Knights and 10 Death Rattle Skeletons. This is another experienced player with 4 drops and 56 wounds. Only 56, guys. Only 56 wounds. But he's going to come in and have a lot to say. His Zombie Dragon Vampire Lord has Swift and Deadly, has the Red Casket artifact, and using Soul Pike for his spell. So Carter, why are you scared of this list?
Oh, I'm not afraid of it. I don't have to play it.
Why are you afraid of this list?
But nah, the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon is going to be almost impossible to kill unless you get the right circumstances. Like if you can get 20 Graveguard into it without getting charged first, or I don't know, 20 Plague Monks in there, you might have a chance. But it's going to heal 6 of any damage it takes, which has a 3-up save base every turn, just off of the hunger. It's probably just going to melt anything it gets into combat with. And then it's followed up by Blood Knights, which are very strong.
Yeah, this is
Just
scary
buffing,
list.
constantly getting buffed every time it kills something
This
from
is
Castellai.
one of the lists that we
And
definitely considered maybe lessening a little bit. But we're hoping his mentor, his natural teacher mentor, comes out here and eases some of the pain that he's gonna be bringing. Nick, sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
You're good, man. The Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is going to be fast. Swift and Deadly, I think that lets him reroll charges. And then the Red Casket adds 3 to run and charge rolls.
Yeah.
So that Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is moving.
He's going to be killing something every turn.
The only issue I could really see with this list, I mean, he's probably just going to... It has the ability to just table people unless they can tie up something with that Vampire Lord. Something, tie it up and survive for 2 turns. He's not going to have the bodies to score a bunch of points.
Giving him something to charge at is probably a good idea. Honestly, just position yourself on the ring of an objective so that he can't actually score after he kills would be good.
Mm. Yep. All right, we're gonna keep moving. Essentially, stay away. That's our advice for this army. Just don't get killed. So yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to Kyle. Kyle, we're super excited for you to be in the community, man. We love how interactive you've been so far in the chat. So we're looking forward to the matches you're bringing with your Ogre Ma tribes, playing Underguts. Defend what's ours as your grand strat. You got a Butcher as your general with the Gastromancer command trait. Gruesome Trophy Rack artifact. The Greasy Deluge spell. Leadership of the Alpha aspect on him. Then you have Lead Belchers, Iron Blaster, and some Noblars with the Burning Head finishing out with a 1 drop of 84 wounds. This is one of our newer players. Super stoked to have you. What you got, guys?
This list is going to give people issues. Like, that's a lot of shooting. Deal with that. It's going to be a quick and bloody match. And Noblars are, they're Noblars. Yeah, those Lead Belchers screening for the Iron Blaster, sitting behind those Noblars, that's going to be gross trying to get into that. And then once you do, the Iron Blaster is just scary. Scary good.
Yep, I do think this is going to be a list where if he doesn't get tied up and killed quickly, he's going to just slowly dismantle your entire army, and then just take all the objectives for himself. So
He's just a shooting castle.
Yep.
So you have to get in there and get rid of those shooting units at all costs, unless you
Yep.
have the wounds to be able to sit on objectives. But like, I think the Skaven player might be able to just chill for a couple turns on more objectives and then win in the overall scoring department. But as far as
yeah,
other armies, he will probably be taken off. a
yeah, I
unit
will
or
say
two
this
shooting.
army is definitely meant to kill people. So if the whole point of Kyle's army is literally kill as much stuff as possible so that he can try to get points at the further into the game. He's not going to be shooting for a lot of points at the beginning. So if you can hold out to this army, if you can, I don't know why I'm giving people pointers on beating a new guy. Don't. This is impossible to win, guys. So don't even try. I'm loving the list. I love the new Ogors. They're looking nasty. Any other comments for this list?
He just needs to get his positioning right, because
Yeah.
one of the things to also remember is you don't have a super chunk of range, and it is easy to. I'm trying to see what that lead belter's range is again, but I
They
know
have
like
different profiles, I believe.
I know the big cannon has a 18-inch shot on the lead belchers, so like your position is gonna have to be good to make sure that you're setting yourself up to keep shooting. Because if you're not, all you're really gonna have is one big shot, and it may or may not do something. So that will be really important for him to consider as he tries to take out stuff and move up the board.
Yep. I mean, essentially, he's playing like Lumineth Sentinels list. He
Yeah.
just moves his castle up, hopes to kill lots of stuff, and then branches out to grab some points as fast as possible.
The lead belchers aren't sentinels though. Like
No, they're not. They're
they
not.
can hit you pretty hard, and they've got some. I mean, they've got some melee built into them, so they're
Yep.
not.
Yeah, they're definitely.
I actually
ogres.
I like the burning head in the list. That's a nice little addition, just to throw out some additional mortal wounds out there. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with
And the
lead
leadership of the alpha is going to be real nice. Being able to give all out attack to all three of those belchers in one turn, I think that'll be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good list.
Yeah, if the lead belchers do not move, they get 2d3 instead of d3
Yeah.
shots.
Oh,
so
nice.
they're gonna want to
They
get in
definitely don't
position
wanna-
quickly.
Yeah, and they're going to want to move first, be that first drop, maybe go first. I don't know. How far can they shoot?
18. So
18. Ooh.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you have to really be mindful
Yeah.
of your shooting ranges.
All right, next, Nick Wilson. Nick, I've
worst
never asked
player.
you before. Do you prefer Nick or do you prefer Nicholas?
I'm pretty much cool with whatever. I go by both. I go by Wilson. I go by Obadiah, my middle name.
Oh,
Just
that's
call
an
me
excellent
whatever.
middle
man.
name. I love that
It is
middle
a
name.
fantastic. And my
Uh,
initial spell a word. Isn't that
wow. Now.
Yep.
Allegiance, Stormcast Eternals. He is bringing the Scions of the Storm, Hammers of Sigmar. The grand strat of the day is ours. A Lord Relictor. Love to see Lord Relictor with a Griff Feather Charm. Command trait High Priest. Translocation Prayer. With a Curse Scripture. Lord Castellant, Tunnel Master. And Vandus Hammerhand. He's got 2 sets of 5 Sequiturs. With 2 sets of great maces each. And then some Vanquishers, which I always love to see. And Warlord and Galetian Vets, doing 6 drops for 63 wounds. Tell us about your list, Nick.
I went for secret mobility. That's kind of their little trick with translocation and the tunnel master over there. It's a pretty mobile army, and shining the light from the castellan, I can tank up that unit of vanquishers and get them on a 3-up save. Vandus Hammerhand as a 18-inch or 24-inch. I don't have to make battle shocks, which is super handy. And then he can give an extra attack to a unit of Redeemers, and those Vanquishers start with 2 attacks. Vandus gets them up to 3. I can add up to 2 more if it's more than 10 models in the unit, so they can get up to 50 attacks. Pretty easy. They're
That's
3s
it.
and 3s, friend 1 damage, but they can do a lot of attacks. They rally on a 4-up or a 5-up. Sorry, it's a nifty little unit. It's not the most competitive list, but it's got enough little tricks in it that you can, keep people entertained and see a lot. But if you get curse off on somebody and you've got 10 units and you get the Vanquishers in, it's not going to be fun.
Nope.
50 attacks at curse is not a good day.
Beautiful. Nick might also be my one of my top votes for top mentor. We'll see. We'll see if he knows the all the points you get for mentors, so he might be gaming the system a bit. We'll see. And we got Paul. We got Paul Wright with the Idneth Deepkin bringing Fwethon. Fwethon.
Mr. Idoneth himself.
Mr. Idneth. Probably the person with the most amount of games played with one army. With the grand strat of Creeping Gloomtide. He's bringing Lotan, Warden of the Soul Ledgers, as his general. Then lots of sharks. We got 2 sharks, and a shark. All with Galetian sharpshooters, so he's going to ignore that whole Galetian champ rule where they can't be shot if they're within 1 of battle line unit. So we've got a total of 960 points here, 45 wounds, 4 drops. What are we thinking? I feel like when we did go ahead and ask Paul to make his list a little less murdery, which I feel like he definitely made it less murdery. What's your thoughts?
There's blood in the water. He's hypermobile. Lots of like you're not going to be able to escape him. He's going to get his damage in, and he's probably going to just want to play back and play safe, and then keep shooting, and then send his guys where he needs to do damage and run away.
Yep.
So the big thing is you gotta to play against Idoneth well, you have to understand the tide tech mechanic, and essentially he gets army-wide buffs depending on which turn it is. And I don't think Lotan can flip the tide, so like turn 1, his whole army will be in cover, so he'll have +1 to save for the whole army, unless he makes a charge. And then turn 2, I think he can run and or shoot. So
you can also only shoot the frontmost unit too, the one that is closest to the thing you're shooting with. So Kyle, for instance, you can only shoot the front thing.
Well, in this, at least, it's like
it's
everything's valuable.
It's either going to be a shark or a shark.
Yeah, but the big thing is the Razor Shell Harpoon. I think is the one where if he hits you with it, you don't get the pile-in.
No, he did not. That's the net. He didn't bring any nets. He's just going for damage.
Bad. Okay, because that would have been pretty bad.
We were a little bit worried that he was going to be trying to position himself to where he was taking the nets and going to the sides where you only have like 1 or 2 little models and essentially locking you in from piling.
No,
but he's not.
He's just going to
shoot you to death with these sharks.
He's probably going to be just shooting you, keep using his movement to stay away, and then turn 3 is when he's going to come in because his whole army gets to fight first turn 3. So it's going to be try to get as many points as you can, and then see if you can survive his when he comes in, or if you can chase him down. Like every shark he loses hurts a lot, so if you do have the speed or a teleport, and then you can get a 9-inch charge off of that, like those are good risks to do against this to see if you can't pin him down or start picking apart some of those sharks.
I believe they're 8 wounds apiece. So there's a chance he could possibly rally one back here and there, but as long as you can kill him before turn 3, I think you're golden.
With
Well, again,
such a low model count, I think early battle tactic denial will be big for beating this army. Like if you can, don't let him just sit out
Yeah.
there and pick you off and do non-combat related battle tactics early. Try if you can. I mean, Paul's a fantastic player, so it's much easier said than done. But trying to deny those battle tactics will help a lot.
because you got to think of it this way: you only need to outscore your opponent most of the times 3 out of the 5 turns. So if you can get him off of keep him off of objectives and prevent him from scoring battle tactics for about 3 turns, then he'll have a huge uphill. It'll be hard for him to get back points if he's trying to play makeup in turns 4 and 5. Even if he wiped you off the board, like he may not be able to catch up.
Yep. Yep, that's enough about that list. That's a low model count. I think you new players can take care of him, but watch out for Paul. He's tricky.
I'll bring a baseball bat.
Make sure he explains all of his abilities. Make sure he explains all of his stuff. We don't want any gotchas in this tournament. So I think he'll do it really, really well. He'll be a good mentor and definitely lead people through it. But all right, let's go to the next one. Sarah Sinesh. This is Mr. Sinesh's wife. Bring in Sylvaneth. Love to see more Sylvaneth. Going specifically Dreadwood, which we don't get to see as often as I want to see Dreadwood. Grand Strat, Chorus of the Woodlands. I do not remember what that Grand Strat is, so she'll have to explain that one to me when she gets there. Playing with the Season of War of the Dwindling. Going for a Branch Witch with Verdant Blessing and Virtuous Harmony. Aspects of the champion fueled by Gurish Rage. Bringing in a Lady of the Vine, so she will have a free summon of some Dryads. With the lady, spells Regrowth and Verdant Blessing. She's going to be essentially healing very, very well. Archrev with Warsinger, Command Traits, and the Crown of Fellbowers. She's bringing a unit of Spite Revenants. A couple, I think that's a reinforced unit of Dryads. So she'll be hoping for the -1 to hit and wound from the Dryads, just kind of sitting somewhere. Bringing the Emerald Life Swarm to bring him back. And then probably using those Spite Revs to get in there with her Dreadwood ability and try to kill some things while the Dryads hold down objectives. So, I like the list, Sarah. I think it's probably a little hero heavy, but usually Sylvaneth have some very hero heavy lists. I still haven't found a real good use for Lady of Vines myself. I think she's really cool and has a really cool ability if you can make the roll, essentially giving you a 5-up after save, which the Sylvaneth really, really do need. And if you can get that roll, having those Dryads at -1 to hit, -1 to wound, plus a after save. I think they're I can't remember if they're 4 or 5-up save in general, but they could stick around pretty easily. So I do like seeing that. But Sarah, this is a nice list. I think it's a really good starter list for some scary stuff, because Dreadwood can be scary if you get enough Spite Revs.
The Grand Strat's actually going to be kind of hard to complete. It's if you completed at least 4 battle tactics, and every battle tactic you completed was from the Songs of War list, which is the
Sylvaneth ones,
battle tactics,
which aren't the easiest battle tactics.
Some of them are pretty good, but
yeah,
not all of them.
They're pretty tough.
It's gonna be a little tough.
I don't think I ever brought the Course of the Woodlands whenever I was playing the Sylvaneth, but I would love to see it.
Lady of Vines is a War Master. I didn't realize that. That's
yes.
handy.
Being a general without being a general. No, there's not much else to say about the list. I really like it. I think as long as you can get those rolls off, you're going to be sitting pretty good. Make sure to do those nice strike and fades. Get in and out whenever you can. Don't lose any of those Spite Revs, because it doesn't look like you have a whole lot. It might be a reinforced unit. Okay, it is a reinforced unit, so there are 10 Spite Revs there. Okay, yeah, John just mentioned that they both are reinforced. So Yeah, they're definitely both reinforced, so she'll be able to keep them around a little bit. But the Spite Revs you want to keep alive, so definitely make sure you get those strike and fades. Make sure you get those charges whenever you get in there close, because that is probably going to be the biggest downfall for your Spite Revs is teleporting in, not getting the charge, and getting killed before they can get out. So just be mindful of those charge rolls, because I don't see any big charge spells or anything like that being a part of this list. But I like it. I like it, Sarah. It's looking good. Next, Summer Jones. This is a Heed Knights of Slaanesh. This is another new player. Super excited to have her on the 29th. She's going for God Seekers with the Grand Strat of Selfish Desire. Bloodthirsty Triumph. Got the Blade Bringer Herald on Exalted Chariot. That's sick. I love that. Lord of Hubris. Shard Speaker of Slaanesh. The Shard Speaker has Progeny of Damnation. The Lord of Hubris has the Fueled by Gurish Rage. And her General, the Blade Bringer on the Exalted Chariot, has Master of Magic. Isn't that Master of Magic the one to get do a reroll? And then Artifact of Girdle of the Realm Racer. Bring in Bliss Barb Archers, one basic unit, not reinforced. 10 Demonettes. 5 Seekers, so that she's going to be getting around really quick. And then doing the Mesmerizing Mirror. So 1 drop, 51 wounds. I think the big thing with this is she's going to want to get those summons in as fast as possible, because she is pretty low wounds in a Slaanesh army. But other than that, I mean, it's looking like a very fast list.
Yeah, the new Slaanesh list is very interesting because they have an ability to offer die rolls to their opponent for if they fail something.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
if you accept it, you get to automatically succeed, but they get D6 depravity. If you decline the offer, you deal D3 mortal wounds to that unit. So
I
if
love that. I really want to
so-
see that in action. I haven't seen that
yeah.
yet.
Summer, do
Currently-
not offer any 6s to the Cruel Boys, because those bows are going to be gross doing what,
Yeah, you
3
can,
mortal wounds.
you can offer it to saves as well. Like there's a lot of different ways to offer it. So, but that's how you get a lot of your depravity points. And then
Yeah.
also once per turn, when you do damage, you can like convert it into depravity, and you gain buffs based on how many depravity you have like stacked up in your army. So you're wanting to get as many depravity early on as possible. So that's going to be something to focus on.
Yeah, I love this list. This is, I don't even, I've never really said I love Slaanesh, but the latest book I think is so fitting thematically. I love the temptation aspect of this, so I'm super excited to actually see it on the board. Summer, it's looking really good. Anybody have any other comments as far as her list goes? What she might be able to do in order to better her strategy?
As a new player, I would definitely ask each time you, before you offer those temptation dice, like what effect it could trigger. Because some units, those 6s might not be advantageous for you. Even if you're going to get the points or those mortal wounds, some units can do some pretty nasty things with 6s. So always ask what could happen if you did first.
That's super smart. Love it. Also, I just apologize for any gross comments you'll get playing as Slaanesh against a bunch of sweaty dudes that weekend. So apologies there ahead of time.
James will be
Yeah,
there.
yeah, and James will be there, so he'll be yelling things, and I'm going to just go ahead and apologize. Awesome. Tim, playing our other Blades of Corn list, the Bloodlords, Grand Strat, Bring Me a Worthy Skull. He's got a Skullmaster with Firebrand, command trait, Mark of the Blood Reaper, a Herald of Corn on Blood Throne with the Bloodbind Prayer, 3 Blood Crushers, a Skull Cannon, a Wrath Axe, and a Karanak. So we're bringing in 1 drop, 62 wounds. I love seeing Blood Crushers again on the battlefield.
They are really good now.
They are really good. And then of course the skull cannon just in the back, popping people with skulls. I love it. I don't really have a whole lot of comments about this list. I mean, they're gonna be fast. They're gonna be in your face purposely. They're trying to get that blood tithe. They're trying to kill stuff as fast as possible. Those blood crushers are gonna hit hard. I don't think they're super fast. I think they're
Well,
like 10-inch move or 8-inch move, something like that.
they're an 8-inch until you realize Killer Instinct is a prayer to let you move in the hero phase, and then you can
Ah.
spend one blood type to move in the hero phase. So he can move
Nice.
essentially 16 inches in the hero phase.
So new people, watch out for that. His war scrolls might not look like much, but the new blood tithe stuff definitely helps with movement, definitely helps with charges, all that good stuff. So be on the lookout for what he can pull with that. Just again, know that he will be trying to go as fast as possible. He is a one drop. Knowing Tim, he will try to probably take the first turn and just try to shove everything down your throat. So maybe park your guys back a little bit further than you might normally, and make sure that your measurements and things like that are on point.
Yeah, big thing is the Bloodlords. If they get a charge off, they'll be doing mortals on 5s instead of 6s too.
His heroes are also probably going to be left alone, so if you have range, trying to snipe them out is a good call, as well as the skull cannon. So if you can get rid of those units while he just has blood crushers left to deal with, so
It's good.
The hell does a blood cannon even do anymore? the
The
skull,
skull cannon. I mean, it used to suck really bad, so I'm wondering if the new
They've
book
changed
actually
it
got
up.
something.
Yeah.
What's up, Kyle? Thanks for joining us. Mr. Kyle Emery has just joined the chat. What's the new war scroll on that skull cannon?
It's not bad. It's only an 18-inch range, but 4 attacks, 3 threes, -2, D3 damage each. And then if it kills something in the combat phase, it can then shoot immediately. So basically, it steals their skull and just
How many
shoots with
shots is it?
4 shots each.
That's
3
not
threes,
bad.
-2,
Yeah, that's not bad at
D3.
all.
No, that's not bad.
So yeah, that'll
That
be sniping
is
keeps.
the shoot in the combat phase thing you just said. Is that kill a model or a unit?
It says after this unit is fought for the first time in that phase, if any models were slain by this unit's attacks in that phase, this unit can immediately shoot. And instead it has Hellblade, so it has 4 attacks, and it's doing mortals.
You can
to
kill a
6.
model pretty easily.
Wow, that's neat.
Kyle
Yep.
mentioned some of the Blood Lord units don't have the proper keyword to proc the Blood Lords, even with them being demons. So Kyle, just send me any notes that you got, and maybe we can get things resolved on that. So awesome. Next, Travis Williams, another new player. Super excited because he is bringing the gun show. Caradron Overlords, Barak Thring, Rule the Skies Grand Strat, Stick to the Code Amendments, Prosecute Wars with All Haste, the Articles Settle the Grudges, and Footnotes Without Our Ships We Are Not. He's got a Rune Lord, an Ether Chemist with the command trait X Grunstock, Artifacts of Power, Spell in a Bottle, of course, which I think he mentioned is the Soul Snare Shackles down here. We also have Grunstock Thunderers, of course, an Arcanaut Company, and a Frigate. And then also down here a unit of Sky Wardens for some melee fun. So I'm not gonna, again, one of the things I think we've kind of failed a little bit in this cast is we've probably said a little bit too much on how to kill the new guys. So I'm not gonna say how best to take out this army, but maybe we can give Travis some pointers on what not to do necessarily as a KO player.
I can definitely say be mindful of just throwing your frigate into stuff. I mean, it's probably tempting to charge it into a bunch of stuff and then drop Sky Wardens and get to fight. But without that strike first, that like if the Sky Wardens don't clear it, they fight, there's a good chance you'll lose them all. So be more mindful about where you throw your frigate into where you're going to do some of the melee with it. assume you're using like the thunders with the snares, and then the priest so they can do mortal. So that's going to be sort of like your shooting platform. So be mindful of where you're going to screen. Like you may, with how low drops you are or low model count, you may want to be careful about your deployment, because if you don't deploy great, there are ways people can get to those thunders, and they will start dying, and you'll lose a lot of your damage potential. And shooting is also going to be something that you have to pay attention to, because if people start picking out your key pieces on you, you're going to lose a lot of your mobility. Like when your frigate goes down, you're going to pretty much be pretty slow after that. So be mindful of your deployment, and be making sure that you have your company in front of whatever you need to take the hit.
Yeah, and I don't think it is a bad thing to play conservatively. A lot of KO players don't like to play conservatively, and they like to go balls to the wall. So it's not a bad thing to play conservatively, especially if you're trying to play for points, because you do have the firepower. You have the firepower to kill stuff. So know that you have the firepower and worry more about getting points.
Yeah, ask your opponent's ranges and make sure that you know their charge ranges so you don't get caught out.
Yep. Love the list, though. I love seeing a frigate.
You have the damage to sit on an objective, and you have the range to basically say, come push me off. So make sure that you have your ranges and everything pretty figured out for what you want to do.
Yep. Awesome. Love it, Travis. Great work. Trevor is another one of our new guys. And I know my camera keeps flickering in and out, so I apologize for some of the technical things. Tonight is their first live, stream thing. Trevor is one of our new guys, bringing Soulblight Grave Lords. He has been also very interactive in the chat, and we really appreciate all the interaction there. Trevor, love having you in the community. Bring in Virkos, Grand Strat Empire of Corpses, Belladama, again driven by the Death Stench on the command traits. Artifact of Alphencarni, Phylactery, Lore of the Vampires, Vile Transference. So it's very similar already to your list. Carter, we got the Necromancer, Lord of the Death Mages, Fading Vigor, Aspect of the Champion, Fueled by Gurish Rage, with a White King, an Arcane Tome. He does have, however, Death Rattle Skeletons. He's got Dire Wolves and 20 Graveguard. Going for the 6-drop, 79 wounds. He is going to be grinding with those Graveguard, and those Death Rattle are going to be probably holding objectives. I'm super stoked to see what these guys do. But yeah, bringing in the Wolves.
I like the grand strategy, Empire Corpses. You just have to bring back 4 units over the course of the bill, and he's got White King that can do it, the Skeletons, the Dire Wolves, the Graveguards, and the summonable Dire Wolves that come in. He's got a lot of units.
The only thing is, technically your opponent can choose just not to kill things, but and then you don't get it. But other than that, good thing.
One thing I would have changed is not make that Death Rattle Skeletons a 20 block with that grand strategy, because a 20 block of Death Rattle Skeletons is pretty hard to lift without a lot of focus fire, and that kind of rules out that unit for the grand strategy. But other than that, I think it's a really good list.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely love all the new guys' lists. They've all brought really solid. You could tell they've thought it through. And I really appreciate that. My first list was Iron Jaws, and it was just straightforward smash. I don't think I even had really any thought behind my artifacts or anything. So I love seeing you guys actually go through and really think through your list and how you're going to defeat things. So
this is just a really grindy list.
Yep. This one's going to stay around.
Sit where you want and tell people to deal with it.
Yep.
I kind of wish I'd have seen some of these lists before I made mine. These are new players, but these lists are not new lists. Like there's some funk in here, man. I'm excited.
We're all gamers here.
They're nasty. And a lot of these guys are coming from miniature war games backgrounds. I believe Trevor played either 40K or Legion. I can't remember. but he's definitely got some miniature wargaming experience. So it's definitely not. It's not a bunch of just completely new to miniature wargaming people. These people are at least know some of the basics of how you might want to structure your army, or at least an army in general, and what kind of things you need to do to grab objectives, etc. So I love seeing these lists though. Last person, and probably my favorite person right here, is Trey Elliott. Bring in the Fire Slayers. Grifffield Lodge. Bring in the Grand Strat of Defend What's Ours. The Triumph Indomitable. He's got an Auric Rune Smiter as his general, with Avatar of Volcatrix as his command trait. The Volatile Brazier. How do you say that? Brazier? I think it's Brazier.
It's
Brazier. Artifact Prayer of Ash for his prayer. Tunnel Master. And then he's got good old Gotrek as an ally in 1,000-point list, with 2 sets of Berserkers, one with bladed sling shields and one with fire steel hand axes, and of course bringing the Molten Infernoth. So super stoked to see Gotrek in 1,000-point lists. I
really wish I'd have brought Gargants for this one, because I would love to play this list with Gargants just to see a little Gotrek destroy them.
It's going to be super fun to see. He's going to be a 1-drop with 53 wounds. Trey, we're super stoked to have you. I've played you at another tournament before, and you're awesome. So definitely looking forward to seeing
Angry dwarves running up the field.
Yeah, as long as Trey put Gotrek in the middle. Don't put him on the side. That was the one downfall I saw from the last time we played. Don't run him on the side. Make sure he's in the middle and just swinging. But other than that, it's pretty straight up Fire Slayers list. Joe, do you have any comments as far as the Fire Slayers go?
You pretty much got it. It's just gonna go forward and hit things. Gotrek should be up front. You want people to get in the Gotrek. So I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to almost like move it up the field as one thing, and then as Gotrek gets settled to where he wants to be, then you start using your base, so you can easily get them to a 3-up, and then once per game they can fight on death. So I wouldn't be too scared about throwing them into some stuff. Trying to remember which of the endless style the prayer it is.
I think it's the dog one. That's really good.
Yeah, when with the volatile, so like get that thing out early and just start harassing things with it, because with that volatile you're getting double its range. So just his whole point is just, I'm gonna get this prayer out and just start beating things up with it. And it's pretty straightforward list. It should be fun. Should be fun to play against too.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
They're Molten Infernoth, that's a incantation, isn't it?
Correct.
A lot of armies have issues with those because they don't have priests.
Yeah, if you have no priest, you can't interact with it, so it just gets to do whatever it wants. It hurts.
It hurts real bad.
Yep.
It hurts. Well, I played one game. I cannot remember the guy's name. It's one of Paul's friends. I played him in Kansas City at the last. What's it called? I'm blanking. What's the big tournament in Kansas City that Charles puts on?
A Flying Monkey.
Thank you, Flying Monkey. Man, can't believe I forgot the name of that. Played him as Jacob against his Fire Slayers, and as long as they can control the avenues of terrain, they are just impossible to move. So, Trey, definitely use the terrain to your advantage. Use the pathways that you're seeing on the board to your advantage. Make sure people get stuck in with you, and just can't leave.
And don't forget, Gotrek benefits from all of your, before I say it, maybe it's a certain one, but there's a way to get Gotrek to benefit from all of his runes. Like, you can actually get extra movement. I can't remember if it's a certain sub-faction.
Billy, look into that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I think that's pretty much it. Is there any other last comments you guys want to talk to the new guys about before we end it tonight?
Ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask lots of questions.
Always ask questions. Yeah. Make sure that your mentors are being mentors. And we will repeat it on that morning, but we want you to be as inscrutable as you can be with your mentors, because the point is that they actually help. And we want to make sure they are being helpful and that you are actually learning stuff and excited to play more, because we want you here in the community.
And don't feel bad if you forget stuff, because everybody forgets stuff all the time.
And have fun. I mean, that's really what it's about. Like, just go in. Don't expect to win every game. Just go in and I think I was watching one of the guys that people like to watch, and the best advice I think he gave was like, try to make 3 new friends.
Oh, I love that. That's a good one. Who was that? I think I watched the same video.
That's
St.
Joanne
Joe.
Noah Singh.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, he's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I think that's a good advice. Like, just go there and have fun, relax, and definitely with this type of tournament, there's no need to sweat. So just try to make some new friends, talk to people, and just laugh at crappy dice rolls, and celebrate when you do things well, and celebrate when your opponent does things or does crazy things. Like, just make it a fun game.
And everyone but Trey drink beer, because it makes the day way better. All right.
I'm not saying it's gonna win the tournament, but every tournament that I have started off with a beer at like 8 in the morning, I've won.
That's the trick. That is the trick. That's what they say. So make sure to get those in. All right. Thanks, guys, so much for joining me tonight, and we are peacing out. See you, everybody.
Later, guys.
See you.
Now let's see if I can actually cancel the stream. There it goes. Stop streaming.